when you got here as that young kid, Dallas Green had been with the Phillies, comes to the Cubs, and holds out for you in that trade, and brings you here. Were you conscious of Harry Caray's role in Cubsdom at that time? Do you have any idea what you were getting into with Wrigley and Harry and GN and the entire thing?
Well, I had no idea. Growing up in Spokane, Washington, did not have WGN, but actually Harry was not there. Harry came over that same year with me in '82, so his career was identical to mine with the Cubs, '82 to '97, which is ironic. But I always looked. It didn't take me long to figure out that 162 games was going to be shown across the country, every at-bat, every fielding play. Harry was going to broadcast. He was going to critique you one way or the other. Steve Stone doing a great job with him. That was all the incentive that I needed to go out every single day and play home and on the road, to play the best that I could, knowing those facts, because you didn't want to get on the wrong side of Harry Caray in an 0 for 20 and leaving guys on base for a whole week. He wouldn't let that slide, and I learned that early when Ron Say, the Penguin, came over from the Dodgers, where he was like a king there, Dodgerland, and everything's fine in Dodgerland. I think he did that first April coming over, have a bad week, leaving some runners out there. We lost some close games, and then Harry, the next step, 0 for 2 the next game after 7 games of no RBI, all over the Penguin. And then Ron Say afterwards coming in and showing his frustration in the locker room to us. And then Bill Buckner, I think Boa, went up to him and said, "Hey, that's the way it is. Just get a hit every now and then and drive in a run. He'll be right back on the good side." He tells it like it is. So that I was a young kid hearing that conversation, and from that point on said, "You know what? I'm going to bring it to the table every single game I go out there."
How weird is that, man, that the broadcaster is as big a presence and as big a star as you guys, which obviously helps, with fame and everything like that, but you guys were actually conscious that you needed to play well, or Harry was going to bury you and things would get more difficult?
Well, he was as big, and you know what? He had a national, across the nation platform at 1:20 in the afternoon. Still today, I meet everyone that grew up, watched WGN, skipped the last class of high school in '84 to go in and go back home and watch the game. I'm still meeting those people, and they're from everywhere. But he had that platform, and he was the only game on in the afternoon, and then it was the Braves on national TV in the evenings, and it was the Saturday games of the week. Players today would look at that, or teenagers or young kids would look at that and say, "Wait a minute, there's every single game on every single night." No,
right.
Back then it was not. But he had a presence about him, and I think '84 was where he really, all of us, we were in the spotlight nationwide, and I think his popularity really took off in that year with winning. It wasn't just playing at Wrigley Field and day baseball. Now it was winning. We're in first place from the All-Star break on, and now he's on nationally. And we felt that as the players. We saw him come down during batting practice. I'd be out there signing some autographs, and all of a sudden somebody would yell, "Hey, there's Harry," and everybody would run over to him, the other side of the dugout, and get his pictures and autographs with Harry.
So he's bigger than you. Like if you and Harry are out on Rush Street, like who gets the better table?
Well, first of all, he was the one out there. I wasn't on Rush Street. I had to get my rest for the day game.
Sure,
he was there, so he would be more popular because I wouldn't be there.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I think he might actually be telling the truth. I think he's one of those guys who actually didn't go out.
Is that right?
You know what? My early years, the veteran players said, "Hey, we have an advantage here. We have the day baseball games. These teams are coming in for 3 days. They're not used to 3-day games and having the evenings off. They're all going to go out at night and Rush Street and enjoy that, because you don't get to do that very often when you have all the night games. So we'll just get our rest." And I think the talk was in '84 when we were really having a chance to win, where we did use that to our advantage. And there was a conversation. It came from Dallas Green right on down, and Dallas wasn't whispering when he said, "Hey, we're going to use this to our advantage and let them go out. We're not going out." So there was no curfew, but as a group, we knew that to go home be with our families once we got on the road, and then then we could go out after some games and have night games. So that's when we kind of hung out on the road and went out a little bit.
It's pretty cool. Ryne Sandberg is our guest here. Parkins and Spiegel on the score as we are live at Harry Caray's. You're getting a statue. Are you excited about this? Do you have input on what the statue is going to look like?
Yeah, early in the process of looking at the different poses, different pictures. I've seen about 200 poses, photographs that they'll actually go by. So really trying to nail down the year. Would like to get an actual photograph. Still torn between offensive, defense, but get one from '84 and what the uniforms look like, which were the old pullovers, no button downs.
Oh, nice.
And this, I've met with the sculpturist, so he'll take it right down to the last lace on a glove and duplicate that. So if I'm still working on that, but I'll find one that'll have a certain 3/4 sleeves that I cut with scissors that have little jags on there. That'll all be duplicated, and the socks and the shoes and the Nike shoes and all that. It'll be all down to a T. So it's unbelievable process. And I just got word that we need to get that done by the end of April, and then it takes them a whole year to build it.
Okay, so it'll be next season will be the unveiling.
2024.
Okay, and so where are you leaning? You leaning offense or defense?
I gotta keep that a secret right now because I don't know. For me, as a player from the minor leagues on, I was about separating offense from defense. When it was time to work on defense, I worked on defense. When it was time to work on offense, I did that and every time I took the field, I tried to leave my at-bats in the dugout, go out and play defense. So I was all about both. So I really don't know to this point.
It's crazy, man, because when I think about the statues that are there, obviously you get a pitcher, he's pitching. You get Billy Williams, you're doing the sweet swing of Billy Williams. When I think about Sandberg, you once went 123 games in a row without an error, which was a record at the time for second base. You're one of 3 players ever to have 40 homer season and a 50 steal season. Brady Anderson, Barry Bonds, Ryne Sandberg. That's it. So, I mean, that's crazy. So it could be you running the bases. It could be any facet of your career.
It's funny that you say that. A friend of mine, when I told him that I was torn, this was about 2 months ago, he mocked up a thing on a computer and sent it to my phone. It was a perfect statue with an offense, with me playing swinging the bat with a home run swing.
Yeah.
And then somehow had another statue right there connected at the base going up, make a defensive position, making a play. And then I said, LOL, that's funny. 2 statues, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
And then I wrote back, well, what about my base running and base stealing? Within 2 minutes, he sends one back with right in the middle of me stealing a base. So there's three figures on one statue thing. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'd like to do what the fans would like to see. It's more for the fans, and
we could poll.
We should poll. We
could poll the audience if you want.
I kind of like 3 rhinos on a statue. It's a little scary.
How do you think Mr. Ricketts would feel about that? Tom, I'd actually like you to commission 3 statues for me.
You know what's real unique is the fact that the other 5 start with Harry Caray and Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, Fergie Jenkins. They were all a part of my career in one way or another. Ernie Banks was there at opening days. He'd be at Dodger Stadium. I saw him 5-6 times a year, maybe more in spring training. Harry Caray, obviously, 162 games. He didn't miss one of my games. Billy Williams, early hitting coach for me.
Wow. Sure.
Fergie Jenkins, teammate for 2 years, 82 and 83. And Ron Santo, broadcasting the radio, and he was around doing interviews with me. So I was around those guys, so that's pretty cool to join that group.
It's amazing as you talk about it. We're with Ryne Sandberg on Parkins and Spiegel. You really are connective tissue from that era of Cubsdom with the '69 Cubs and all of that to some of the guys now, because you've had a presence at spring training. You had a presence in 2016 and for the build there, so it sounds like that's something that you appreciate very much, being that connective
I do, and that's
piece.
interesting because a lot of the stories that I tell, or a lot of hitting tips from Billy Williams or whatever, or comments from Ernie Banks or Ron Santo, any of them, I never forgot those lines, or whether they're funny or whatever, or trying to get the player to think a different way about swinging a bat or in a bat. I do use those guys and some of the phrases, which I never forgot, which I used throughout my career. I do use that with the Cubs these last, what is it, 6-7 years since I've been back, since rejoining from coming back from the Phillies. So that's it is pretty interesting. It kind of keeps it all a full circle.
Right, and that's kind of the beauty of the game, isn't it? It's like that some of that wisdom is absolutely still applicable, and guys, are guys receptive to you?
Well, some people call, whenever you start with back then, or this is the way that we used to do, or old school or something.
Right.
You got to be careful with some of that. You have to, on how you approach it and how you word it.
It's a turnoff for some people, right?
Yeah. Have you ever thought about and then throw the old school stuff out there? It's not really old school because I played the game that basically watching TV and the way that they did it in the 70s and the 60s. And
yeah.
Those players played the way that the players did in the 40s and in the 50s. Everything's like, the game doesn't change that much.
No, it's
so
true.
Receptive in some regards, and other times they look at me like I have two heads on my shoulder.
So the score's been around forever, right? 30 plus years. I'm curious if you are from. How many times in your life have you been called Ryne Sandberg instead of Ryne?
100% until Harry gave me the nickname Rhino. That was huge. That was huge.
Okay, so I want to play for you, and I can't.
But not only that, my parents, I'd go to grade school, and finally 2 months into it or a month into it, they have Parents' Day, so they come to the school, they walk around, they go, "Where's your desk?" Mine's over there. They go and look, and there's my name tag, Ryan.
Oh, God.
They'd go to the teacher, "Hey, that's not how they spell his name," and they say, "What do you mean? It's Ryne." And they would say, well, he didn't say anything.
They weren't Ryan Duran fans.
They
weren't Ryan Duran fans.
No, they weren't.
Well, I want to play you this iconic clip from the Score's history. A host who still is here, Dan Bernstein, when a caller could not figure out what your name was. I don't know if you know about this clip. He went insane.
First of all, it's not Ryan. It's Ryne. Ryne. Not Ryan.
Lost his mind.
Did you ever get that mad?
No, but I've heard the clip.
You've heard the clip?
I've heard the clip, yeah. And you know what? It's really improved since '82 with Rhino as my nickname.
Yeah, okay,
now
good.
They kind of figured out because it's Ryne and then an O at the end of it. So that's worked very well.
Makes it easy for us Chicagoans who mispronounce every name.
That's awesome. Hey, we got lots of votes on the text line here about what your stats should be.
They're split, though.
I know, but I got to say, a couple people saying, I'll stick with the most memorable, mesmerizing home run swing. But then this one, Rhino setting up the creep step at second base with the flip down sunglasses. That's the answer. I see you nodding your head. You like it, don't you?
I didn't play one day game at Wrigley Field without the flip downs. And
Yeah.
they were. Here I go with my old school. They were old school because now you see the nice Oakleys that cost more and they keep them down the whole time. But you see balls get lost in the sun with those Oakleys because they're not. These flip downs were total blackout of the sun. So you could flip them down, and what you did was when the ball went up and it was coming your way, you'd hit the top of your cap, and now those would go down automatically. That's how you did it.
I'm with that guy. How cool would it be to have defense as the statue? Your
Yeah.
game was that good all around that defense can play.
Those glasses, I could stare up at the sun for 10 minutes, and you wouldn't even bother. You could see the sun was just one big ball, and then if the baseball was in the middle of the sun, you could see the black dot there, and you could just stay with it, and you didn't drop balls. You didn't drop fly balls back there. Your teammates would be all over you.